And one of the things going to happen, Chris, and it's unavoidable at this point, fire sale for Baker Mayfield. Hot potato for the Browns. They got to move on from the $18.8 million fully guaranteed salary. Everybody knows it. Sometimes when you try to trade someone, your leverage is, well, if you don't give us an offer we like, we'll just keep him. And I don't think the Browns are going to play that game because they are carrying an $18.8 million cap obligation, and they owe him that money unless they unload him. Or if they end up just cutting him, they owe him that money minus whatever he makes somewhere else. I don't think they want to cut him because I think if they do, he makes a beeline to Pittsburgh. But the goal, while everyone is together at the Breakers Resort at Palm Beach, is for the Browns to find someone who will gladly take Baker Mayfield without the Browns having to pay any of the money. And to that I say, good freaking luck, because they're not going to find it.
I wouldn't think so. I'm with you. I guess, you look at the scenario to go, all right, well, what's the scenario maybe that they do find somebody? Well, they got to get, one of these teams that's sitting here without a quarterback in their musical chairs. They got to get two of them to get involved, like we've talked about before. I mean, it's a little like any trade scenario. And I don't know, Mike, do you have the feel that there's going to be more than one involved in wanting Baker Mayfield, or one that's going to be so desperate that's going to say, okay, we'll bid against another and start that? That's where I don't know if I really see it. All right, let's just take the four teams. I mean, we got the Falcons. Do they want to jump in the Baker Mayfield thing right now in a part where they're trying to figure out their franchise for the future?
Up for the draft.
Right, exactly, right. So there's too many things, right, that they're building, figuring it out. Like, they're not going to jump in the Baker Mayfield conversation. You talk about the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, maybe that one makes sense a little bit, right? I mean, I can get behind that. Houston, there is that. But, again, it's a team that's in a rebuild. There is Davis Mills. We know Nick Caserio maybe had interest in Baker Mayfield. We heard those rumors in New England that they liked him up there when he was coming out in the draft. But are they going to do that and kind of, make a trade? I don't know about that either. And then there's the Panthers.
He could have been part of the Deshaun Watson
exactly.
deal. I mean, if they wanted him, they could have him already.
Exactly, right. So then you get down to the Panthers, and you go, the Panthers really going to go from Bridgewater to Sam Darnold to Baker Mayfield? So to your point there, I look at really the only team that I really think makes sense is Seattle, and I don't think, that there's going to be a trade market for him, and then eventually what you said will happen, and he'll be free, and he'll pick the team he wants to play for.
Here's the thing that we can't lose sight of. Baker Mayfield has a ton of leverage here because he's due to make 18.8 fully guaranteed. He doesn't have to agree to anything. And if a team comes sniffing around to trade for him, all he has to say is, I'm not so sure I want to play for you. Do you really think anyone is going to give up anything of significance to take on an $18.8 million fully guaranteed obligation for a guy who doesn't want to be there?
Yeah.
Sorry, Seattle, I don't want to play for you. Sorry, Atlanta, I don't want to play for you. Sorry, Carolina, I don't want to play for you. Who do you want to play for? I want to play for Pittsburgh, and I want you to cut me so I can go play for Pittsburgh. I mean, and I haven't heard that. It just makes too much sense to not happen. If the Steelers could get Baker Mayfield and stick it to the Browns and manipulate the circumstances to get Baker Mayfield sufficiently fired up to go play as well as he ever has in his life for the Steelers in that division against the Browns twice a year. And he's clearly better than Mitchell Trubisky. Some Steelers fans, when I introduced the topic the other day on PFT, were like, oh, we don't want him. Well, you've got Mitchell Trubisky. I'm sorry, all due respect, but Baker Mayfield is better than Mitchell Trubisky. Baker Mayfield has had 4 seasons in the NFL. 2 were good, 2 weren't. That's good enough when your options are Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and Dwayne Haskins to say, if we could get this guy for $1.035 million a year and the Browns have to pay the rest of it, the Browns are going to be paying him $17+ million a year. I'm sorry, I can't do the math that fast. And we're getting the benefit of his services. Yes, we're going to do that in a heartbeat, and that's what the Browns are trying to avoid. And the question is, how far do the Browns push it before they just cut the cord? Do they let it get awkward? Do they let it get as awkward as Will Smith and Chris Rock? Do they let him show up? Does he want to show up? I don't think he will on the surface. Why would he show up for anything? The other side of it is, you show up, you deal with me. Steve McNair in Tennessee, when they were trying to trade him to the Ravens back in 2006-ish, 2008-ish, where they didn't want to let him in the building. There was a grievance. There was a big brouhaha over it. Got to let him in the building. Got to let him work out. Got to take the risk that he gets injured and nobody else wants him, and you're stuck with his cap number. I mean, if Baker Mayfield wants to push this, he can. So I love a good story, And the best story could be the Browns don't do anything, and Mayfield decides to create as much chaos as he can to get his way out. And all of this is happening under the umbrella of him possibly going to Pittsburgh. It's a great story that kind of fell out of the sky in the aftermath of the Deshaun Watson trade.
Well, it is. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because we got, the thing is, too, we know we got a spot for him in Seattle. Okay, it makes sense there. And then I think we kind of mentioned the other teams. Carolina, you're like, do they really have the guts to do that? Part 3, that's sort of move. The Falcons, I don't think they're going to go that way. The Pittsburgh thing you bring up, Mike, it's interesting. I haven't heard anything like tangible or any rumor to think that. But I will agree with you at a base level. Yes, he is better than Mitchell Trubisky. No question about that. I'm not going to argue that. Now, from everything you hear in Pittsburgh and what we even heard towards the end of the year, it did seem like they were interested, intrigued by a quarterback that could move a little bit and do some of the quarterback design runs and the RPOs and the read options. And not that Baker Mayfield can't do that, but running's not like his go-to or his calling card. Trubisky has a little bit more of that element. So, again, I don't know if there's really anything there with Pittsburgh, Mike. I don't. I'm sure they're going to look at all options too, but there's probably a part of them that's going, wait, do we want to get stuck with Baker Mayfield? Maybe we have a different vision of the way our team's going to play, with one of these quarterbacks that we fancy in the draft that you brought up already, kind of with that conversation there. So that to me was, I don't see it happening, I guess is what I'm saying. But Baker Mayfield is a starting quarterback in the NFL. A handful, a pain in the butt, and there's limited seats here. And it's kind of crazy that we're sitting here now going, wait, who is Baker going to start? Is he definitely going to start for somebody? And when is this all going to happen? And I think really when you just lay it all down, it is going to ultimately be a release. Nobody's going to trade for him. And he's going to have his team. And I would bet money right now that it will be the Seattle Seahawks. That would be my choice.
I think that we hit the nail on the head as it relates to the timing because at this point we're close enough to the draft, roughly a month away, that it may make sense to wait and see what happens if teams that are targeting quarterbacks get the guy they want or they don't get the guy they want. Because why would you rush into a deal for Baker Mayfield now when there's a chance you may get the guy you want?
Yes.
Why would you take on his salary now? Why would you give the Browns anything of value now? They may have to do a Brock Osweiler hot potato trade, and it would be fitting because it was 5 years ago that they got Osweiler, what was at the time a $16 million contract, and a second-round pick. They kept him through training camp because they figured we're paying him. We may as well keep him around. They eventually cut him. He goes back to Denver on a one-year deal and is a backup there in 2017. But the bottom line is right now the Browns aren't going to get anything close to what they would hope for. Maybe something happens later. Maybe something transpires later, whether it's you don't get the guy you want in the draft, your starter gets injured in some fluke accident, because really I know we can count on quarterbacks getting – no, we count on other players getting injured. Like we just kind of assume it's going to happen, whether it's in the offseason program, training camp, preseason, regular season, whatever. Quarterbacks, it doesn't happen as often because they're protected. They're in bubble wrap.
Right.
In practice, in regular season games, in preseason games, the rules protect them, and they're less likely to have a serious injury. Of course, as I say that, I guarantee that somebody's going to slip in the shower today and tear an ACL, and there goes the market. Here it is for Baker Mayfield. But, Chris, to the extent that it's Seattle, because I think I saw yesterday there was an article from Mary Kate Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer addressing issues that we'll get to about Baker Mayfield. But she mentioned Seattle and Carolina. Well, it's already been reported Carolina's not interested. And why would they be interested? They need to get away from the frog-kissing phase.
Yes,
we talked about that last week.
Good way to put
You
it.
just can't keep going around from guy to guy to guy to guy and hoping that one of them is going to become a franchise quarterback when he hasn't been anywhere else. You need something better than that, and the only way you're going to get him is in the draft, because all the franchise quarterbacks that we know about don't want to go to Carolina. So I think they're going to draft somebody. I can't see them taking on Baker Mayfield, but you need to set it up as Seattle versus Carolina to get Seattle to come to the table with something more than you can give us a sixth-round pick if you want and pay $5 million of his salary, and we'll take him off your hands. Or they may be even driving a harder bargain than that. Anything at this point for the Browns, as long as you can send him to a team other than the Steelers, that's a partial victory. So I could see a team say, yeah, we'll give you a conditional 7th-round pick. If we sign into an extension, you can have our 7th-round pick in 2023, but you're paying $17 million of this. We're not paying it. You're paying him anyway. You're stuck. Hey, and it's the cost of doing business with a franchise quarterback. They need to view it that way. When they throw $230 million fully guaranteed at Deshaun Watson, there's another $18.8 million liability that is part of it.
Yeah.
And they just need to accept that. And I think that, if I'm negotiating with the Browns, that's what I say. You just need to put it on your tab for what you paid to Deshaun Watson. Because once you did that,
it lost all power.
Cost in Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
yep,
that's right. They lost all power. You're right. And then their only hope is that 2 teams do get involved. And yeah, it doesn't seem likely for the scenarios we kind of threw out there. It doesn't. So they're stuck. Again, I think it goes back to a little bit with this situation where I know at the day after we heard some of the rumors, of course, as I talk to people around the NFL, it's just when they talked to Deshaun Watson, I thought for sure they had a plan already in set for wait, if Baker Mayfield doesn't work, we got something here to trade him, get rid of him. They had a deal already set up in case Watson signed. I mean, that to me was one of the more shocking things of the last few weeks was, oh, wait, we're going to go for it with Watson. Oh, wait, you're mad? Wait, Chippy Baker Mayfield's mad? Wait, we didn't read that right? Of course he was going to be mad. What? I mean, come on, it's Baker Mayfield. He walks off press conferences for questions that are, just tough football questions. I mean, so yes, he was going to get upset. What did they expect? That to me is where they're in this problem now. I just can't believe they flirted with a guy and didn't think that their wife that they're married to here was just going to be like, oh, it's okay. No worries, honey. You keep flirting and it's all good. I'll be here waiting for you at home. That's where I'm shocked by that.
And then Will Smith comes up and slaps somebody and says, keep my wife's effing name out of your mouth.
That's the third time you brought it up today now. Good job.
So, well, it fit. It fit.
It does.
Worked.
It might fit. Let's see how much we can fit it today.
Look, they blew this. And I go back to January 9th, the final Sunday of the regular season, when they were putting the word out to reporters that they're going to go forward with Baker Mayfield this year. And then out of nowhere, they flirt with Deshaun Watson. And then the report is, well, we told Baker Mayfield's camp that if we could get a really good quarterback, which Baker isn't, then we were going to make that move. But since it didn't work, everything's fine, right, Baker? You're fine, right? We want an adult at quarterback. Here's your chance to prove you're an adult. I mean, the whole thing's a joke, and they just have to accept it. And now they're trying to play chess with people who already have put you in check. You're already in checkmate. And they know it. These people are smart enough. They understand it. They see through it. They saw through it. And you're just going to have to bite the bullet. You're just going to have to move on unless you're willing to keep Baker Mayfield on the payroll, on the roster.
That's all they got.
He's got the right to show up if he wants to be there,
That's right.
Brett Favre in 2008 when he rolls in late July when they didn't want him there. I mean, that's the thing. Baker Mayfield was going to hold out. That was the report. He was going to hold out. He was pissed off. He was going to stay away from everything. Now that the Browns can't unload him, I think Baker Mayfield's attitude needs to be, I'll be there for everything. I'll be there with bells on. I'll be your 6-game replacement for Deshaun Watson. I mean, think of all the PR stuff that's going on. We haven't talked about the Deshaun Watson press conference, which was anything but a celebration of Deshaun Watson's arrival to Cleveland on Friday. Miles Simmons and I spent the whole hour of PFTPM breaking that thing down. But there's a weird cloud hanging over Cleveland right now.
Yeah, there is.
And if Baker Mayfield shows up in Berea for the offseason program, it's just going to be weird, and the Browns need to cut the cord sooner rather than later.
Yeah, really, right?
May very well be they have to cut him.
That to me, it seems kind of blatant. Like you're screwed. I mean, he has all the power too. It doesn't even matter. To the point you brought up earlier in the show, Mike. It just okay. So what? They get two or three teams involved in a bidding war. Back to your point, if he just goes, wait, I don't want to play for Carolina. I'm not going to play. There's no way. There's no future. Okay, that's over with. Oh, wait, but now what's the other team? I mean, they've put themselves in a spot where they don't have much say here. And they would have to have 2 teams that are truly desperate that Baker Mayfield would want to go to. So that's another, factor of this where I just, again, I think you're right. The writing's on the wall here. It's just a matter of time. Cut him, let him sign with his team and figure it out and figure out your books that way from there on out.
The bottom line is, in order to thread this needle, The Browns need Baker Mayfield to cooperate. Why in the hell would Baker Mayfield cooperate with the Browns right now? I think that he should be uncooperative just to prove a point. You threw me overboard. You kicked me to the curb. You lied to me. You told me that I'm your guy. What a shock. I mean, I'm sure that that's a lie that gets told very often in the NFL. You're my guy. You're my guy. You're my guy until you're not my guy. But when you're the guy that's been hearing you're my guy, you get pissed off.
Of course.
When they lie to you. You've been there.
Yes.
You were there with Gruden. You're my guy. You're my guy. You're my guy. Who are you?
Yeah. No, it's again, it hurts your heart. It hurts your soul. You think there's more of a deep connection or meaning there at times. And that's where players, can be hurt a little bit, because you just go, wait, I thought this was a little bit more than just a normal business connection. And I'm sure Baker Mayfield feels that way. Of course he does. He's the number one pick of the draft. For their organization. And he was their starting quarterback. And not only did they, flirt with a guy, and again, a guy that we know has got, a checkered history here, flirted with him, and then went the extra mile to go down and meet with him and really go that way. That, to me, is when you start to go, whoa, they're really begging this guy to come here. They really want him. They really don't want me. And that's where it does get personal, and you start to go, all right, maybe I need, a different – we all need – a different start and a different energy somewhere else.
But I've got no compulsion in any way, shape, or form to cooperate with the Browns as they try to turn this chicken bleep situation into anything but what it is.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.